Try again.
Good afternoon. Can everyone hear me today?
They'll have to turn on their cameras and let us know if their thumbs up.
Give me a thumbs
Yes.
up. Good. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Jonathan. I'm here at Heartwood as a resident. Before the Venerable starts Dharma today, we do have a few announcements. I want to remind you that we have a retreat this weekend, December 12th and 13th. This is a self-metta, a foundational practice of the Brahma Viharas. This is hosted by Mary Autry. So please register online if you're interested. We also are continuing to have our fundraising for this month. That's going to be matched up to $350,000. So please go to Heartwood Donate and give us all the help you can for that this month. And we also will be having a 4 watches, as the Buddha did. There's 3 watches of the night for 4 nights straight. And that will be from December 27th, 28th. Starting December 28th. And we're going to go for 4 straight nights from 6 p.m. till 6 a.m. And that will be available with the Zoom. I think we're going to have that 24 hours a day. So please join us for that and start preparing for that now. Start cleansing your body, cleansing your mind, getting rid of some of that caffeine and sugar, and start staying up a little bit later to train yourself to join us for that, because that's going to be a very transformational experience for us, and we hope you join us. So I think that's all for today.
Hang tight until.
And Venerable Paniwadi should be here in just a minute. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jonathan. Okay, why can I see a thumbs up? That's right.
Okay, now we need a pillow.
It's not gonna work like that. Can you fix it in my hand?
I'm gonna have to sit higher.
Doesn't need to be.
You know the microphone's going down now? It was on the top.
So this is a test, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, this is not this mic, it's this mic? I'm gonna put this on you. Yeah. Okay, I won't touch it. So good to see all of you today. Let's just open up with incense burning. Thumbs up. Can you hear me? Now can you hear me? Oh, good. All right. Incense burning, all space is filled with the fragrance. All Buddha smell it from afar. Auspicious clouds gather everywhere. With utmost sincerity, all Buddhas appear. We pay homage and offer clouds of incense to the Bodhisattvas and the Mahasattvas. We pay homage, we offer clouds of incense to the Bodhisattvas and the Mahasattvas. We pay homage, we offer clouds of incense to the Bodhisattvas and the Mahasattvas. These clouds of incense that we offer are our good wishes, our good thoughts, our good mind, our goodness is what we offer up to all of the awakened beings in the 10,000 directions. And a good time to do that is like when you just really don't feel like it. Soma came to pick me up this morning, and um, she had the a tape playing, and her battery, I guess her battery ran down. The battery's a starter, it's something, but she was right in the driveway, so we couldn't get my car out. Kay couldn't get her car in, and everybody was just kind of like stranded. And so uh, I called sister. I said, "Sister, can you do emergency Dharma today?" She said, "No, I need a few minutes to get my mind together, so I can't do it." I'm like, "No, I'm in worse shape than you. I need more than a few minutes to get mine together." And instantly, the song rose up in me, uh, offering clouds of incense to the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas. And that's a way that if we train in a certain way, our practice will rescue us in the moment when we need it, when we're not thinking our best thoughts, our most fruitful thoughts, our most beneficial thoughts, when we're when we're looking at situations and circumstances, particularly when there's nothing that we can do about them, then just abandon all irritation with them. If there's something that we can do something about, then we should do that. But what gives us a certain quality to change the nature of appearances uh, is our capacity to touch that intrinsic, uh, accepting, still nature within us. And when we think it's not that we don't have it, we just have to go a little deeper. It's down there. And it's where cultivating the paramitas come in to help us. You know, applying patience. I always said, like, I don't want patience because when I was in Christian practice, we were taught that patience comes through suffering. Through suffering, you learn patience. I'm like, well, shoot, I don't want that. uh, and so I never dealt with patience. I tried to cultivate lots of other qualities, and I see them have their perfect work in my life. But patience was not one of them because it said that the only way I would get it was through suffering. Well, it took coming to the Dharma to find out that I was suffering, you know, because I didn't recognize dukkha as dukkha. I didn't see it as suffering. I mean, I know that we have the vicissitudes of life, yeah, but I didn't acknowledge the inherent suffering in conditioned existence. And when Buddha said, "Look, you got to just look at this now. Just look at this." And when I started really looking, I could see the suffering. And then I got really depressed. I'm like, everywhere I look, I see suffering, 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 you know, everywhere. And he was saying, like, well, there is truly that there is the suffering, um, but that's just because of your grasping and your craving. If you don't have grasping and craving, then it's just something that's happening, you know, and then it no longer becomes suffering. So you see, the real transition and the real change that we make is actually changing the mind. It's sometimes things change out there, sometimes they don't. But it's actually just like that, one can change one's mind and one can be in an entirely different state. And that is powerful. I'm telling you that when you can check your mind in that way. So I was a little bit perturbed from the get go because I had this awesome insight this morning. And it was so great and it was so simple, you know. And I started looking for some Dharma in the sutras to that would correspond with this insight that I had. I mean, I'm telling you, it was so simple. And then in looking for the Dharma, as I began to read the different sutras, it the readings wiped away the insight. So the living insight, that which quickened me from the inside, you know, was gone, and I was left with the dead bones. And when I say dead bones, I mean that the Dharma text is not the true Dharma, the real Dharma. It speaks of it, but it is not it. And if we don't get that, we will go our whole life reading texts and reciting Dharma and be so far away from it. And we will be exchanging the false. We will be exchanging the real for the false. And so, with all of our getting, we have to get understanding and to know where exactly these two collide and where they meet and where they merge is not just what we read or what we hear from those that we consider wise, but what we take into ourselves and becomes, you know, and becomes us, becomes who and what we are. This Tuesday, we did the example of drinking water. We said out here we call it water. It's water in this. What do you call these things? What's this? A little thermos or something. Yeah, like so. It's water in the thermos. But when we drink it, we don't say it's water in a sack of skin. when we drink it, the water has ceased to be, and we just call it me, right? But everything else we uh, differentiate out. But when it comes to what is really us, like we're so confused. We've just heaped all kinds of things upon us and call it us. And Buddha said, it's not you. It's not even worthy to be considered you. It's not me. These things that I hold or have, they're not really mine. And because we, in just a normal, ordinary, moving about life way, don't remind ourselves of this, we get caught up in this dichotomy or in this duality. So in one hand, the mind understands a certain thing, but when one is trying to walk it out, we can't walk it out. And so we have to know the difference between study, between practice, between cultivation. These all, they're just words, but the words point to something. They point to specific things. And if we kind of just lump it all together, we won't come away with an understanding that is helpful. We'll have some understanding, but it won't help us to really reach our goal because it's like taking a stick and stirring up water that's in a muddy lake, and all the water becomes cloudy and muddy. Yes, there's water there, but it's not water fit to drink because the mud is now all mixed with the water. But when you let it sit, then the dirt, it falls to the bottom, and the top of the lake, and one can look in it, and one can see one's reflection. And so this is about for us clarifying, these points. We're all doing well. He said we're doing really well. But if I don't know I'm doing well, then I will act as if I'm not doing well. I will not put forth the additional effort to do even better, to even do more, to even be greater, because I am so convinced of an insufficiency, either in myself or in that which I practice. I remember one time my husband wanted to quit smoking, and he just couldn't quit. He couldn't quit. He couldn't quit. And one night we came in from a like really fantastic prayer meeting, and it was like we were Pentecostal at that time, and it was like, oh yeah, man, it's Holy Ghost filled, and it was just showering down upon us, and when I was having this wonderful, wonderful experience, just ripples and ripples and ripples of bliss. And then we got home, and he pulled out a cigarette, and I said, every time you uh, light that cigarette, you're saying to yourself that which I believe has no power in my life. I said, if that's how you feel, you need to find something that you can believe in, something that you can embrace. Don't just say I'm a this, I'm a Buddhist, I'm a Christian. Don't just say I'm a this, I'm a spiritual practitioner. Don't say, if you are what you are, you don't even have to say what you are. It's plain and it's obvious. And even though you say you're whatever, to others it's plain and it's obvious. So it's like going around like the emperor with no clothes on. Only one that one is fooling is oneself. I tell you these things just so that one can come up to their own great wish, their own great aspiration, and how freeing it is to know that you don't have to measure up to anybody else's standards, but you should have a standard for yourself, though. And there is a way to measure up to your own standard. And so, a good friend of mine, Panlop Rinpoche, he wrote a book called Mind After Beyond Death, I think. and I wanted to share a very short excerpt from you. So what frustrated me, which I'm over the frustration now, was that I got this great insight. And then when I started going through the text, every text I got to was a good text, right? It just didn't relate to the insight, and then I'd go look at another one, and it was a good text. It was something worthy of contemplating, reading, pondering, contemplating, putting into practice, but it didn't go with the insight. And the insight was the important thing because it was alive, it was a quickening, it was right in this moment. And it benefited me so much in that moment. It felt like something leaped inside of me. How can you forget something like that in 5 minutes or 10 minutes, or maybe it was 15 or 20 minutes? But I thought, this insight, this is going to be with me forever until I breathe my last breath, because it was so it was because it was so clear and uplifting. Again, I say something actually leaped inside of me. And so maybe it was just one I need to keep to myself. Maybe that's why I can't remember it. I don't know. I don't think so. I think I just forgot it. But as I began to look at the different sutras, all of them were great, and then I forgot what that insight was. Um, So then I had to go and look for something that helps me with, gets upon the cross of forgetting your insight. One thing that I did learn today is that when you have something like that, stay with it. Stay with it. Stay with it. I went to my usual. My usual is, grab a Dharma book and start reading. That's my friend. The Dharma books are my friends. But sometimes we need to just stay with what is happening inside. So maybe that's the lesson for today. That was my uh, closest friend, that direct insight. And I left him for the book says. But this awakening was not just the Buddha's. He was pointing us to have our own. Sometimes he would say something. He'd say, and it occurred to me spontaneously. I love it when I read that. It occurred to me spontaneously. What does it mean for something to occur to you spontaneously, that is so powerful when it occurs to you that something in you leaps? A leap for joy, a leap for freedom. And he was saying, pay attention to those signs. That's the real. I'm just telling you, I'm pointing you, saying go in that direction, but that's the real. Now, of course, we do have to study. We do have to uh, uh, learn something to have a basis by which we can examine and evaluate our experience. Every experience we have is not a wholesome experience. So we need some direction, yes, but we need to do something else. And Pamela shares with us very succinctly what that is. So if you have today's contemplation ready to go up, we can read it together. Oh, I thought that was Sessions. That's Sada? Get out of here. So, oh, that's so sweet. Sada, technical stuff. I was like, this could be really good. Because Sada only knows a little bit of English. So this could be really great. I'm sorry. developing, developing a true practice. We cannot judge the spiritual state of others. It is not sufficient to say, I think this or I think that. Also, we cannot judge according to how long we practiced meditation today or how much Dharma studied or that we can recite. The real test that matters is the one we give ourselves. We look at ourselves, our emotions, our thoughts, our actions, our reactions, our tendencies to see how we are doing. The point is to get to know both our strengths and weaknesses. Then we make adjustments wherever improvement is needed. Since the assessment is of benefit to us, we should take real care in doing it. This is how one develops his own true practice. Practice is different from cultivation. Cultivation is thinking, speaking, and doing the actions of awakened beings. Practice is self assessment and correction. It is as simple as that. And so just take a moment and reread the paragraph to yourself, thinking about where it fits, where it finds its place in you, and how you can use it to benefit. And I'm going to give you an example of how to do it. I'll start off with mine. So last week, I think it was Sunday, this past Sunday, I was sharing about how to set up an altar, I mean, an altar, and right after that, I got an email from Master. She said, "I'm going to share something with my disciples. Can you get on tonight?" And I got on, and I'm going to tell you what it was about. It was about setting up altars, but it was about telling others how to set up an altar when you're not taking care of your own. And and as soon as the conversation started, I was so happy to have a teacher, like this, and because she wasn't calling me on anything, she was like just uh, sharing, and the shoe fit. Now I don't think it was a happenstance. I really don't. I think it was an intersecting of things, and that's the reliance one can have on the Dharma and can have on uh, on their teacher if their teacher is connected with the teacher. You say, who's your teacher? The Dharma is the teacher because it shines light on what needs to be corrected. what needs, And so after she gave this talk, I said, Master, can I stay on after everybody hangs up? I like I want to talk to you about something. She laughed. She said, yeah. And then and then we had a conversation. It was a good conversation. So then we hang up, and then I get a call from my former student who I turned over to Master, and because I helped her as much as I could, and she needed uh, she needed more support than I could give her, because she was having experiences that were like just way out of my frame of reference, and and then she called and she said, "I've been trying to talk to you, because we have a way of sort of mentally connecting, but." She said, "I've been trying to talk to you, and like you not like pick it up. We're not connecting, so I had to pick up the phone and call you. You know, and and so she said, I just wanted to tell you, I've been trying to tell you that your altar, Buddha Master said, your altar is the portal between the realms. Take care of take care of your altar." And I said, "Oh, well, then I'm going to have to simplify it if I have to take care of it, because I got too many things on it. That's too much dusting and cleaning and, you know." And she said, "No, actually, there's some other things that you need to put there, because they represent, or they're symbols of something that you're working through in your life. You have to understand the symbology of it as well." And she said, "It's not for everybody. Some people have an altar just as a gesture of goodwill and good heart. But for some, it becomes a working mechanism, a tool in their uh, in their practice, just like reading the Dharma becomes something more than just a good read, a good story. It becomes something that has an active ingredient in your life that begins to shift the nature of things in you. So it just depends on what the altar is to you, the same way it depends on what the Dharma you read is to you. And so it's in these ways. So I've been serious the past few days about I think it's been like 3 days now. And I tell you, it was so wonderful because when I sat today, um, I was like instantly in the zone. And I was trying to think of, should I sit? Do I have time to sit this morning? I don't, because Thursday's jam packed. Plus, I need to and I started making a list of all the things that I need to go to the store. I need to shop. I need to get some shoes. I need to go to the hospital supply store to get something for Barani. I need to, and I started making my list of all these things I need to do. I need to check the news to see what's happening. I need to turn on CNN for a minute to get an update. I need to check the coronavirus stats for this morning. I need to, so I started thinking all of these thoughts came up about what I need. I need to get the Dharma contemplation together. I need to, um, and so many things started coming up in my mind. But when I sat and closed my eyes, all of a sudden there was uh, the flutter, this flutter of like a presence coming that I could like focus right there, just like I can be busy, busy, busy. You ring my doorbell, you get my attention. I come and I open the door. And now, no matter what was on my mind, the minute I open that door and I see you, my eyes are on you. Everything else falls away, even if just for a few minutes. And so I had that today. And it felt so wonderful. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do more at work with doing my Yidam practice and
just having the heart to let the altar represent something real in my heart and mind. You understand? Because that's where the life of anything is given. It's inside of you. And so as I did that, and I'm assessing myself, I could see that all my frustrations fell away this morning. All of my irritations fell away. All of my, just whatever happened, happened. Actually, I can even laugh about them. I can be not so sorry that I cannot recall that great insight that caused something in my belly to leap. I can not be attached to it. I can know that it'll rise back up to the surface in this 70-year-old mind at some point in time. And I'll just wait for it to come, and I'll be happy when it does. That's it. And so that's how I can understand and you can leave it up there in case people need to see it. And that's how I can understand how to put this into practice in my daily life. This practice is not hard. And it's really wonderful. And it saves us. Or if it's in us, we save ourselves. So that every moment can either be a happy moment, a good moment, or it can be a redeeming moment where we come back to our highest and our best selves. And if you get this, it'll be with you all the time, everywhere you go, no matter what you're doing or who you encounter. And the contentment that can be there then will not be dependent on anybody else making you happy. You will no longer rely on others. You will rely on yourself. And I don't mean that others don't have a part in our lives and the things that we do, because they do. But you won't be disappointed when they come or when they go. You won't feel like something didn't work out because of somebody else. That won't even cross your mind. You won't even think your success is dependent on them being present or not. And in that way, you free both yourself and you free others. Yeah. You free yourself from dependence and you free others from trying to please. Okay, so the floor is open. Maybe it can go in the chat so they can still see it if they need to. Is that possible? Oh, could you hear me? Maybe it can go into the chat. And okay, and then we can go back to the faces so we can see whoever's speaking.
They can unmute themselves and share.
Okay, so you can unmute yourself and share. But could you also put your hand up so I can find you on the screen? Yes, Brian.
Thank you for this reading. Can you hear me all right? I really, excuse me. I really like the point where it says the point is to get to know both our strengths and weaknesses. It's so easy for me to always pick out my weaknesses because they're plentiful. But to know my strengths helps give me the faith to continue on the practice, because it says, yes, I'm getting better, I'm moving forward. So it's important for me not only to recognize my weaknesses, but also to give myself credit when there's a strength, because it helps solidify me on the path. I just wanted to share that.
Can we be heard here?
Try. Let me see.
You know, this passage is largely about self-assessment. Then your
Can
story
you hear
was...
her? If you can hear her, put your...
So this passage is largely about doing a self-assessment. Your story about the altar was about getting assessment from your teacher. And I was thinking that it's really helpful to have a teacher work with you on your strengths and weaknesses. I mean, self-assessment is great, but, you know, we're all a little not so clear-sighted maybe about our strengths and weaknesses.
I think that's a good point. And I think we can also consider that sometimes we are aware of them, we may not know what to do about it. So sometimes we need a little bit of guidance. But mostly we know when we're doing good and we're not doing good. If we're not doing good, we might try to fool somebody else, or we try not to look at it, but we kind of know. Just when I was teaching about the altars, I think I mentioned on there at that time, you know, like I need to tighten up my own game. You know, so I felt good because I had already assessed myself. But you see, I didn't like do a critical judgment. It was like, oh, don't you see, you know, you need to do what you need to be doing as well. And you can't use the excuse, I'm too busy, I'm too tired, that's what everybody uses. Excuse, you know, can have anybody's name on it. And so I think we know intrinsically when we are practitioners, we know when we're meeting and missing the mark. There's something inherent in the truth that it lets you not be without recognition of something, even if we don't know exactly how to turn ourselves around. And then that's where a good friend can be helpful to you. So pay attention to the prompts, and that's why it's also good to be quick to acknowledge something, because then we don't stuff it down or hide it or pretend that it's not there. It becomes something so much easier to work with if we just keep it up there and don't take it personally, although it applies to you personally, but don't take it personally like that makes me seem like a bad person or look like a bad person. No, it's just that right there needs some work on it. Just handle it, you know, and we will become more, we will be eager actually to uncover our faults, because that kind of blame or that kind of shame will not be present with it. It'll just be the clear seeing. Yeah, thank you. I find it very interesting that whenever we are talking about the Dharma, people have a lot to share. But when we're talking about our practice, Like nothing comes to mind. I get nothing, and it lets me know that we need to, really shift our emphasis a little bit more. I'm not saying decrease your Dharma study, not at all. But I'm just saying make sure that you take it and put it into your own bowl and stir it up in there so that we are clear on what actual practice is. And remember in Sutta number, I don't know, it's either 6 or 8, he said, that's what you do off the pillow, what you think, what you say, and your conduct off the pillow. That is your practice. Yes.
I don't want to dominate the floor here, but later on in the passage, he says, since this assessment is of benefit to us, we should take real care in doing it. Is that the same as looking at it dispassionately and without taking it personally? Is that what he means by taking real care?
Yes, that's a part of it, but taking care in doing it is having the right attitude or an approach to assessment, but really making sure that you do. I'm always looking at my practice, my actual practice, what's going on in my mind, or what, or something that I've said, or something that I'm doing. I'm always looking at that first and foremost alongside of the standard that I hold as true, so that I know where I am, all the time. And I know sometimes I may not feel motivated to do better than where I am. I just note that too, And if I think about that long enough, then I may get motivated again, or I just need to just rest in that place and be there, knowing that's not the highest and best place I could be, but that is where I am, and looking forward to the relief and the release that's going to come as I continue to ponder that, and that's why if we can, when we overcome something, it's a great, great thing. It can be like even a trivial matter itself, but to overcome anything is is great. It's a great accomplishment. And if we can, if we apply greatness to any aspect of overcoming, that same greatness then gets ascribed to the teachings. And so then our confidence builds in the teachings because of the results that we see from it. So you see, it's almost like a loop. It's a continual loop, and then we start to have more confidence in the teachings when we put them into action, or when we bring them to us to relieve us, to free us, to clarify for us, to restore our joy, to give us strength, to give us confidence, to uproot fear. I mean, it takes on a different quality, a greater quality, and the greater the quality, the more we benefit, because a thing only has as much value as we give it, So when we give the Dharma great value, when we give our progress great value, then it has the potential, we open up its potential to be greater and greater, a greater and greater influence, I'm saying, in our life. So it's in that way that you have like this feedback loop. Yes. Okay, who had the hand first? I was looking in the wrong way. Nancy, and then Josh, and then Joe.
Good afternoon. I find this very helpful. especially the part of not having shame and being able to be in the present moment, let go of my story of maybe insufficiency, and just be where I am. And I do see in my practice off the pillow that there's rewiring in my brain and that, or mind, and I'm not going back to old patterns of fear and anxiety or insufficiency nearly as often. And there's just, I guess the word I'd put it, relaxing in the present and seeing more clarity of what response, if any, is appropriate in a situation. And in fact, after Tuesday's class and listening to your Dharma talk with how it related to Beyond the Himalayas, as well as Joan Norris's sharing right after the phone rang, and it was a friend of mine in Colorado who was in a lot of distress with a conflict with her brother. And I listened and just kind of said, I'd like to share with you. And I summed up very shortly what Jim had said about his boat ride and the Tao. And when we finished, she just was in a completely different place. She got there on her own, but it was sharing the Dharma. And it was, I don't think the past me would have opened up and even shared that. That's all. Thank you.
Josh, you have to unmute.
Okay, I didn't know if I should proceed or not, if there was going to be a comment. I was thinking that it seems that some personality traits masquerade at times as being not desirable or negative, but depending, can also really help us in our lives and be something that's positive. I always remember my niece as a child being horribly disobedient and being so certain of herself and what she wanted, and that being what we would have considered at the time a negative personality trait. But as an adult, that turned into tenacity and the ability to lead. So I didn't know if perhaps you had some words of wisdom about instead of giving a blanket negative assessment to some of these aspects of ourselves, if there might be a transformative power to understand them, first of all, and perhaps to encourage the more Dharma-centered or in direction for those personality traits. I'm just curious as to your wisdom.
Mhm. Well, it's like when you go to the doctor and you have a particular symptom, and he prescribes medicine for you, and he prescribes it based on your assessment of your symptom. You know, so there have been times when I wasn't clear with the doctor of exactly what I was feeling, and he did a script, you know, and I call him back and I'd say, well, that's not helping. And then he'll run through some questions and he says, oh, no, that's not your bowel, that's your stomach, just by some question. And so it's like if you understand that this, the view of ignorance is one of relativity. So everything moves from this to this. And we find ourselves or our thoughts or whatever somewhere along the tangent between here and here. It's just where along that tangent, you know, do we find ourselves. So in this sense, we start, once we recognize that the resultant fruit of whatever our thoughts, speech, and actions are not what we intended, or they could have been what we intended, but we know that they're not wholesome, useful, or beneficial, then we can start to see where we need to, like, it's like when you're on the doctor scale and they have this weight on there and they put it on like 150 and you weigh more than 150, but you weigh less than 175, and they keep notching it. And then they'll go and the scale starts tipping this way and they notch it back this way and it goes back this way until it's balanced. That's the way that we can work with ourselves. So sometimes the very while a behavior or a way of thinking may not, I will say not negative in itself, the extent to which we apply it above and beyond what is needed in a situation is what makes it useful or not useful. We just sum it up to like good or bad. And so that's why we have to do this self-assessing in line with the Dharma to know how to adjust. So one person might be too forward. Another person might be too self-deprecating, or in a situation. I know a person, she is very strong and very sure about what she says and what she does, except with people who come to fix things for her. Then no matter what they say, they are the expert. I don't know where that comes from in her, but she's that way. And so they always take her to the cleaners. You needed this or you needed that. Well, he said, the plumber said I needed this. The roofer said, no, you don't. And but if they say it, it's the absolute gospel. But in every other area, she is fully in charge. And so within ourselves, we have areas where we are off balance in some way. And it's for us to see it and to begin to balance. I could say to that person, you just do whatever they say blindly. What is that in you? And that'll just make her dig down even deeper. No, I don't. Or, well, they're the expert. And so there's no point in us having this conversation. It's her money. So, but if we see that in ourselves, like, what made me just say that? Or why did I suddenly feel that way? Or if I understand something and I'm really okay with something and yet I have this bitter pain, what is that coming from? How is that happening? And we will increase our capacity to become clear and focused and concentrated, to see exactly what needs to be corrected, adjusted, uprooted, strengthened, set aside, taken up in our life. And it really is so much fun. Then overcoming obstacles becomes a challenge. A challenge in a good way, not a challenge in a bad way. Like, I can surmount that. Oh yeah, I see this little thing here. Not a problem. I'll just put some clear mind and some happiness juice on it, and I'll take care of that problem and nothing flat. It's like the little toughie. Nobody bothers me. But we will get into that frame of mind. No matter what comes up, we can look for our way. With every temptation, there is a way of escape. And I'm talking about mentally, where a place where we can position ourselves to balance the imbalance that's occurring for us, that's causing us distress, or to feel out of control, or to feel overwhelmed, or to feel deep grief. And we have to practice on the little things, because there's some big things that will come in our life. And if you haven't, practiced on the little things, how are you going to handle the big ones when they come? This passage that he has in the book on something, what is it? Beyond? No, this is Beyond Death, Mind Beyond Death. It was actually a book on dying and how to die without any anguish or apprehension, how to die with ease. But to die with ease, one has to live with ease. And so he took us all the way to the beginning, showing us step by step in every area of our life how to go from a place of dis-ease to ease, just in how we use the mind. Yes, Joe?
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Hey, Joe, you look so laid back lately. You really do. Honestly. I wouldn't say it was true.
This is the time when, it's feast or famine on the job. It's a sales related job, so it's feast or famine, and this is the slow period. So yeah, I have a lot of space in my mind right now because customers are hard to get a hold of. Everybody's going on vacation, and so yeah, maybe that's why. Thank you, though. I wanted to share. It occurs to me I've been this judging thing, and this corresponds to what we talked about last week. I think the topic was around judging as well, and even the realization that when we meditate and we get into and I get into that sort of state of presence, that it's a break from this mind that's constantly looking out and qualitatively judging the world, and it's really a baseline. So then if you can get off the pillow and kind of retain that view, then for a while at least you can break the habit of all the judging that the mind does. And for me, it's very much an internal dialogue. I could be taking a walk just for exercise in the morning, and everything I'm seeing, I'm judging. I'm giving it some kind of a qualitative judgment. This idea that for as Buddhists, we do all this self-examination, we read the Dharma, and then we try to internalize that, and maybe there's an insight that comes up, and we use that throughout a week or a period of time. All of this makes us more self-aware, but I think everything that I become aware of about myself then gives me fodder to go and judge others. So it's almost like a double-edged sword. We have to be careful, because the more we learn about ourselves, the more we see out there in the world. And so then when I see in someone else something, when I recognize something, I'm recognizing, right? I'm recognizing something that I've known about myself in them, and I can judge them. I can make myself superior based on, and this again, it's all happening in our minds. But now the question is, what do we do with when we see something in someone else and we see they're at a certain place, and maybe our mind automatically says that's a lower place, that's a more ignorant place. There's all these things that come to mind. I'm starting to be able to kind of catch myself in that as that dialogue begins, and say, wait, don't we really want everyone not to suffer? And if someone is coming from a mindset or is in a mindset, or even just walking by and I can see how in their actions that they're in a certain, restricted mindset, then isn't that suffering? And don't I want that suffering alleviated? So wouldn't I wish them well, rather than placing myself as somehow superior? So that's been something that's been happening, to the point where in a few instances this week, and probably a little last week as well, I'm starting to actually not only correct my mind, which is kind of a mechanical version of the exercise, but actually feel love and compassion coming up in that sort of giving it up to, the well-wishing or really feeling a sense of compassion, that there's a real feeling coming up, as opposed to just a mechanical adjustment that I guess maybe we all, do at some point along the path here. as we're trying to learn to be more helpful in the world rather than hurtful. Anyways, thank you.
Thank you. And I really thank you because you brought my insight back. So here was the insight, and these things can come in the most, in ways that you wouldn't even think. That's why I'm always reminding myself that all worldly Dharma is Buddha Dharma. So as I started losing some mental faculty, my doctor suggested I start playing games, to download apps like word games, number games, games that involve memory, like this one where it's a restaurant and a person makes their order, and then the second person makes their order, and then the third person makes the order, and then you have to pretend that you're the chef in the kitchen or something. You have to put the orders out in order, and I'll do terrible at that one. But there's I like to play bid whist because I used to play it in my former life, and we used to have parties. We'd have bid whist parties. That's how people would get their rent money together in my neighborhood when I was growing up. So we had beer gardens in the backyard, and we fixed fried chicken, yes, and collard greens, and we had card tables set up and the music going, and you paid so much to play each game, and so everybody just had fun, and this is what we do. But it was very, very competitive. And you interviewed people before you let them sit across from you as a partner in the card game, because you were sitting at the game to win. And so, you interviewed people because you didn't want a bad player, because it's in pairs, right? So you could be as good as I don't know what, but if you got somebody who can't play, who can't think, who doesn't understand what the cards, when the cards are falling, what that means, then you're going to lose. So that's the way I've always approached bid whist. But now that I'm playing it on the computer, yes, I have a partner. But sometimes, my finger hits the wrong card, and I play a card, and it causes us to lose, that particular hand. But it never condemns me, and I actually had a visceral feeling around that. The fact that I can play the wrong card, I could have played the king to flush out the ace, and instead I played the jack, and it only flushed out the queen. So now the queen and the ace are gonna win. It's things like that. But my partner never condemns me and says, "Oh, you're a lousy player." He never condemns me. Why'd you play that card? Why didn't you see my jack last time? That should have given you an indication. It never condemns me. And so I was thinking that how I could be that way. That when somebody does something that's unskillful, I don't have to condemn them. And just knowing how good it felt good with a card game on my phone and an artificial, not real partner, and it felt good. How much better would it feel, human to human, if you could be with someone and you make a mistake and they haven't judged you? Or you could be with someone and you didn't make a mistake, you're just unskillful, and they didn't condemn you. Or you could be with someone and you made the choice you wanted to make, and they didn't condemn you. And so it was a Dharma game for me. The thing is that when the Dharma gets in your eye in this way, I've been having some thoughts about what the Dharma eye is. And I think it's more than just seeing something, but it's where everything transforms into the Dharma for you. No matter what you do, you can see the Dharma in it. Everything just becomes Dharma. And now one doesn't have to make stuff Dharma. It just transforms. You just see the Dharma, the arising and the falling. You see it in everything. You hear it in everything. Well, that was a personal insight, so that's about all I can say about that. But I'm going to just tell you it's yummy. And it's 1:17, so I guess we should go. I thank you so much for your practice. Keep Sharon and her family in your prayers. They had a Thanksgiving gathering, and 5 of their family members now have COVID. And so she said it's too late for Thanksgiving, but for Christmas, stay home. So this week we're going to clarify our novena and the prayers. We're going to do a 7-day, 7 days of intercessory prayer for people. We now have the phone number where the prayer request. Is it a phone number? Is it a text? What is it? Email? Oh, okay. What is it? The email? Prayer. Okay, so we have a new email. Prayer, Prayer, at Heartwood Refuge. And if you would like us to pray for anyone in your family or friends or anyone that you know, please send your requests there. And we're setting up a time that we connect with you around your wishes for respite for your loved ones and for your friends or your neighbors or people that you've heard about. And that's going to start on January the 1st. We will actually be doing the sittings the 1st through the 9th. Is it the 1st, sister? January 1st? The 1st through the 9th? Is the novena? Yes, okay. So that starts on January 1st. Also, we're doing, starting on Monday the 28th, 29th, 30th, and 31st, we're going to be doing 12 hours of meditation, the 4 watches of the night, that the Buddha, the night of the Buddha's awakening. So from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., we invite you to meditate with us for all or part of that time. And we will have an email out about both of those this week. Don't forget our great offer for the retirement of our second trust mortgage that Linda will match dollar for dollar for all the offerings that we get. So you could, if you want your offerings to go further, right now, instead of sending them to our regular, you can send them to the mortgage retirement button. Use that button, and it'll have double its effect. Thank you so much. I thank you for your practice. We love everybody, and may you be well and happy and peaceful. May no harm come to you and no danger. May you always be able to meet the inevitable difficulties of life. Yeah. Bye.